The Roman Empire had one main goal: to expand its power across their known world. The Romans believed in Imperium sine fine, empire without end, and they wanted to expand their influence everywhere they could, including the lands of the Gauls. The Gauls were a collection of independent Celtic tribes that inhabited what we now call France and a lot of Western Europe. But they were far from a united group. Each tribe had its own leaders and customs, but they all shared a warrior culture and an intense love of freedom. When the Romans came to conquer, the Gauls did not give up easily. Over the years, they had a series of fierce and often violent resistances to defend their homeland. From early skirmishes to all-out rebellions, the Gauls fought back. Even though they faced the powerful, organised Roman Empire, they were never without leaders who were ready for the challenge. Vercingetorix, the most famous Gallic leader, managed to unite the tribes and even defeat some of Caesar's forces. But his leadership was just one part of a larger, relentless resistance that would test the might of Rome in multiple battles and campaigns across Gaul. Each Gallic tribe had its own chieftain, and their loyalty to these leaders ran deep. It was a decentralized way of life, some might even say that it was chaotic, but it gave the Gauls a specific strength. Each tribe was extremely independent, and while this independence made them pretty difficult to unite altogether, it also meant that they were unpredictable and hard to conquer. The Gauls had a warrior culture where bravery and strength in battle were highly respected. Fighting wasn't just a necessity, it was how they lived and how they defended their freedom. They were extremely skilled fighters who knew how to use the land as an advantage in battle, whether it was dense forests or hilly terrain. Their tactics were often fast and brutal, using ambushes and raids to always keep their enemies on edge. Religion was deeply intertwined with their daily lives. The Druids, their spiritual leaders, were highly respected and had influence over religious matters and also political decisions. The Druids believed in the power of nature, and the Gauls believed natural elements like rivers, forests, and even the earth itself were sacred. The Gauls were also advanced in craftsmanship, especially in their metalwork. They were known for their iron weapons, finely crafted swords, shields, and armour, all that were both practical and symbolic. All of these objects often came with intricate designs that reflected the tribe's identity and cultural pride. Aside from weapons, they made jewellery and other decorative items, showing their artistic skills and the importance that they had for beauty, even during war. But the regionalised nature of their society, with each tribe looking out for their own interests, made it hard for them to form a united front against the Roman Empire. While this independence made them stronger in smaller, regional conflicts, it would come to be a weakness when facing the well-organised and disciplined Roman legions. In 58 BCE, Julius Caesar launched his campaign into Gaul, aiming to bring the region under Roman control. But for Caesar, this was about more than just expanding the empire. His political ambitions in Rome heavily depended on military success, and conquering Gaul would secure his power. The Romans didn't just rely on force, they were also very strategic. As Caesar's legions moved through Gaul, they didn't just fight battles, they built infrastructure to control the land. Roads were constructed for easy transportation, fortifications were built to defend key areas, and new colonies were founded to solidify Rome's hold on that region. They didn't just want to gain territory, they wanted to keep it. In the early years of the campaign, Caesar had a lot of success. The Romans targeted smaller Gallic tribes first, defeating them very quickly. These tribes, unaccustomed to the sheer discipline and organisation of the Roman legions, were defeated in battle or forced to surrender. One by one, they fell, and it seemed like Rome was going to defeat Gaul as easily as they did with other regions. Caesar's victories were supported by the strength of the Roman political machine. He had the resources of the Roman Republic behind him, and every new victory only increased his influence back home. The Senate watched as he extended Roman control deeper into Gaul, turning Caesar into a rising star. But Gaul was not like the other regions that Rome had defeated. As Caesar pushed further, resistance grew rapidly. The Gauls, even though they were divided into many tribes, were not going to give up their land without a fight. What started as a straightforward military campaign was turning into a much more complex war. As the Roman campaign pushed deeper and deeper into Gaul, the resistance only grew. At the centre of it all was Vercingetorix, the chieftain of the Arverni tribe. Vercingetorix wasn't just any leader. He was young, charismatic, and understood that Rome couldn't be fought tribe by tribe. He knew that if the Gauls had any chance of standing up to Caesar's legions, they would need to unite. And that is exactly what he set out to do. Vercingetorix knew that the Roman legions excelled in open battle through their discipline and organisation, so he used guerrilla warfare instead. His forces would attack quickly, strike Roman supply lines, and disappear before the legions could even respond. He also adopted a scorched earth policy, ordering his followers to burn their own crops and villages so that the Romans could not live off their land. And it was very effective. Without supplies, Caesar's legions struggled to maintain their long campaigns. Under Vercingetorix's leadership, the scattered Gallic tribes began to unite. It wasn't easy, many tribes were still extremely independent, and convincing them to follow a single leader took skill and determination. But luckily Vercingetorix had both. Slowly but surely, he managed to bring more and more tribes into the fold, forming a resistance that was larger and stronger than anything Caesar had faced in Gaul up to that point. One of Vercingetorix's greatest successes came in 52 BCE at the Battle of Gergovia. Using the high ground to his advantage, Vercingetorix's forces defeated Caesar's legions in one of the few battles where Rome had a clear and decisive loss. For a moment, it seemed that the Gauls might actually have a chance to push the Romans out of their homeland. But despite this victory, the war was far from over. Vercingetorix knew that Rome would not give up easily, and Caesar, humiliated by the defeat, was determined more than ever to crush the Gallic resistance once and for all. The final confrontation between Vercingetorix and Caesar happened in 52 BCE at the fortress of Alesia. Placed high among a hill, Alesia seemed like an ideal stronghold for Vercingetorix, but Caesar had no intention of assaulting directly. Instead, he laid siege to the city in an incredible display of Roman engineering. Caesar's legions built two massive walls around Alesia. The first, the circumvallation, completely encircled the city, trapping Vercingetorix and his forces inside. The second, the contravallation, faced outward, protecting the Romans from the expected Gallic reinforcements. These walls, having trenches, spikes, and towers, basically created a fortress within a fortress, completely isolating the Gauls, cutting off their supplies. As the siege went on, starvation set in for Vercingetorix's forces. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of Gallic reinforcements arrived to break the siege. For days they launched wave after wave of attacks on Caesar's outer wall, while Vercingetorix's men tried to break through the inner defences. But Caesar's fortifications held, and the Roman legions, even though they were fighting on two fronts, stood their ground. With his people starving and reinforcement unable to breach the Roman defences, Vercingetorix made the difficult choice to surrender. He rode out to Caesar, offering himself up to save his men. The surrender of Vercingetorix marked the end of the Gallic resistance and sealed Rome's control over Gaul. With the defeat of Alesia, the Gallic resistance was broken and Rome took full control of Gaul. Vercingetorix, once the symbol of Gallic unity, was taken to Rome in chains. He was paraded through the streets in Caesar's triumph and, after many years in captivity, was executed. A final display of Rome's power over its conquered foes. In the years that followed, Gaul was transformed under Roman rule. The process of Romanization began as the Romans integrated the region into their empire. New cities were built, connected by an extensive network of roads that made movement and trade faster and more efficient. Roman customs, language, and laws began to replace the old tribal ways, and over time, the Gauls adapted to life under Roman rule. Roman influence shaped Gaul in profound ways. The region became a key part of the Roman Empire, vital for trade and military power. Roman architecture, public baths, temples, and amphitheatres began to spring up, blending Roman and local styles. The Gauls themselves started adopting Roman clothing, coinage, and governance, gradually becoming more Roman in their way of life. But the Romanization of Gaul wasn't just about buildings and laws, it left a lasting impact on the culture and identity of the region. The infrastructure built by the Romans from roads to aqueducts endured long after the fall of the empire, shaping the future of what would eventually become modern France. Even though the Gauls were ultimately defeated, their resistance left a lasting legacy, especially in modern French identity. Over time, Vercingetorix became more than just a Gallic chieftain. He became a symbol of resistance, unity, and defiance against overwhelming odds. In modern France, Vercingetorix is remembered as a national hero, a figure who represents the spirit of resistance that has defined the country throughout its history. His name is often mentioned in discussions of patriotism and the fight for freedom, making him a central figure in the collective memory of the French people. The Roman conquest of Gaul also had far-reaching consequences that shaped the future of Europe. Roman law, infrastructure, and culture left an imprint on the region, influencing its development for centuries. The roads, cities, and political systems the Romans built in Gaul laid the foundation for the future of France, blending both Gallic and Roman traditions into something new. The resistance of the Gauls is a testament to their determination and bravery. Their refusal to surrender easily to Rome, despite overwhelming odds, is remembered as an early example of the unbreakable spirit that would define the region for generations to come. The legacy of the Gallic resistance serves as a reminder that even in defeat, their fight for freedom left a mark on history. It's a story not just of defeat, but of resilience and the lasting impact of those who dare to resist.